Um, okay, we're good, I believe. So welcome to Understanding the Health and Well-Being of Students Experiencing Homelessness, a webinar brought to you by the California Homeless Education Technical Assistance Center. My name is Susie, as I mentioned, and I'm with the Hetac. The Hetac is funded by the California Department of Education, and we are intended to serve as the state's Homeless Education Technical Assistance Center. The Hetac is operated jointly by Contra Costa County Office of Education, Los Angeles County Office of Education, and San Diego County Office of Education, where I'm from. You can learn more about the Hetac by visiting the Hetac website at hetac.org, or when you get the slides from Denise in a little bit, you can use the link on the slide. So today's webinar is being presented by two of my colleagues that I have tremendous respect for. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to both of them to introduce themselves and get us started. Thanks.
Thank you, Susie. I'll go ahead and start first, I guess, because my picture's on that side. So good morning, everyone. My name is Mara Madrigal Weiss, and I'm the Executive Director of Student Wellness and School Culture with the San Diego County Office of Education. I have the privilege of working with Susie and very happy to be here today. I'll be sharing some statewide resources to support students' mental health. And I am co-presenting with Samira. So Samira, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Mara. Hi, everyone. I'm Samira Solomonpour, and I'm with the Institute for Health Policy Studies at the University of California, San Francisco. Our school health evaluation and research team at UCSF has done a lot of evaluation and research work in partnership with the Hetacs, with Mara and San Diego County. We've had the pleasure of working with a lot of local and county level districts and LEAs to evaluate school health programs. And I'm excited to be here today with you.
And we also have Sarah.
We do,
right?
Thanks, Mara.
Of course.
Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Geyer-Stronger. I work closely with Samira and have also worked with Mara and Susie for a long time on a variety of projects. I'm happy to be here today and excited that we can share this data with you all. I think it's really important information to share.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so where are we headed today? Today, as Sarah shared, we're really excited to share some data with you. The goals are for today, first to describe the current data on the health and well-being of California's youth who are experiencing homelessness. Then we'd also like to share some resources that you can access so that you can also access statewide and local data on youth experiencing homelessness in your districts or counties, and also statewide. And then we'll shift to, Mara will share some excellent resources and best practices to help support youth's mental health needs. So she'll talk about those in the latter half of the presentation. So I think we'll just go ahead and get started and jump right into the data. So many of you may be familiar with the California Healthy Kids Survey, but this is a statewide survey that provides our state with some phenomenal data on health and wellness indicators for California students. And for those who may be less familiar with the California Healthy Kids Survey, it is a statewide survey that's administered by West Ed on behalf of the California Department of Education, has been administered for many, many years. So there's a lot of longitudinal data from the California Healthy Kids Survey. It's traditionally administered every other year in school districts to students in 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, and non-traditional grades. Some districts and LEAs opt to administer the Healthy Kids more frequently, so every year. Some opt to administer it to the even grades, 6th, 8th, 10th. So it's really up to the districts how to administer the survey and when and how often. But over the years, traditionally, this is the method that has been used to administer the Healthy Kids in California schools. And there's an elementary version of the California Healthy Kids Survey, and there's a secondary version, which also has slightly different versions for middle and high schools. And the survey is available in a number of different languages, English and Spanish, but also translated into a number of other languages when needed. And the Healthy Kids Survey the main survey is what we call the core module. And this is the module that's always administered when people do the Healthy Kids survey. And it assesses a number of different indicators that are self-reported by students. It's a self-reported survey. And some of the topic areas that are assessed through the Healthy Kids core module are student engagement and school connectedness, school safety, so social, emotional, and physical safety, violence and experiences of victimization and bullying. And then also the survey has a number of questions related to mental, behavioral, and physical health, including questions related to substance use, depression, suicide risk, and other health risks and learning behaviors. So we're going to take a look at some of those questions today when we look at the data for this presentation. Next slide, please. So the Healthy Kids, like I said, there's a core module that it's a standard module that everyone takes, but WestEd and CDE offer a number of additional modules that schools and districts can select to add to their core module administration. Some of them are what we call standardized modules that you can just add on pretty easily to your Healthy Kids administration, but they also offer an option to make a custom module. And this comes in handy and did for our team at UCSF when you have an evaluation or some research that you need to conduct and you don't want to do yet another survey in the schools. You can create a custom module in partnership with WestEd that can be added on to the Healthy Kids survey to ask about whatever topic area you're interested in collecting data on. So that's what our team did back in 2015, 2016. Our team at UCSF, in partnership with CDE, WestEd, and our local education partners, we created a custom module for the Healthy Kids survey that was at that time called the Project Cal-Well module. It evolved into being called the Mental Health Supports module. And what this module assessed students' self-reported perceived stigma related to mental health help-seeking attitudes, behaviors, and perceived behaviors, barriers, and access to and utilization of mental health services and supports. And we were using this module as part of our evaluation of CDE's Project Cal-Well initiative, which was funded by the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration for many years. And so we were trying to track CDE was implementing a number of strategies to increase awareness around mental health and increase access to services to mental health in several LEAs. And so we use this custom module to help us track how students' reports of mental health supports and access to services were changing over time as Cal-Well was implemented. Fast forward to 2018, WestEd and CDE began offering the module that we created in partnership with them as an optional add-on module to the core. And then just this school year, it's now offered, the mental health supports module has now been embedded in what WestEd calls the new behavioral health module that's available to everyone statewide and includes some of the questions from the mental health supports module. So today, we can go to the next slide. I'm going to share some data with you all from the California Healthy Kids Survey core module that was administered statewide in the 2022-2023 school year to students throughout the state in secondary school. So these are grades 7 through 12 and non-traditional students. And we looked at the students who had answers to the question that we could identify would help us identify whether or not they were experiencing homelessness or not. And so that left us with a sample of 470,000 or so students in California statewide to analyze data from. And the mental health supports module, again, this is an add-on module, so not every district in California administers it. It's only the districts who opt to add it to their California Healthy Kids administration. So I think it was about 100 in the 22-23 school year, 100 districts or so that opted to add it on, which means we have a smaller sample than all the folks who are doing the core survey. As I mentioned, that's the main module everyone does. And then you can add on the mental health supports module. And we have a sample then from the districts who opted to add the mental health supports module of 88,000 or so students, where we can look at their data related to mental health supports. So that's the data I'm going to be sharing with you today. Next slide, please. So again, for those who may not be familiar with the Healthy Kids questions, there is a question on the survey sort of upfront as students are taking the survey that asks them what their current living situation is. And this is the exact question that is asked. What best describes where you live? A home includes a house, apartment, trailer, or mobile home. And then there's a series of response options that the student can choose to indicate what their current living situation is. And the first one is a home with one or more parent or guardian. And so we in West Ed, when they do analyses of these data as well, will code this as our non-homeless population. And I apologize for the brevity in the terms that we're going to use, but homeless and non-homeless is just, as we get into the slides, makes it easier on the chart labels, so we're not using lengthy labels. But so the ones that we classify as non-homeless are the students who said that they are living in a home with one or more parent or guardian. And then we consider students who are experiencing homelessness, those young people who said that they're living either in an other relative's home, a home with more than one family, which could indicate that they're doubled up, a friend's home, a hotel or motel, or they said that they are living in a shelter, car, campground, or other transitional or temporary housing. So this is, as you all are well aware, it's a small portion of youth, but small out of 400,000 is not small. But it represents about 6% in totality of the students that took the survey in the 2022-2023 school year. And just a note, not everyone took this survey, so we may be missing a lot of young people who may not have been in school due to reasons, and one might be instability in the home. We can go on to the next slide.
Okay, Samira, I have a question. Also, somebody just wants to make sure that they understand CHICS is a module that districts can opt to add to CHYA curriculum to help determine mental health needs. I think that, can you clarify?
The CHICS is the California Healthy Kids Survey. I don't,
I'm not sure what the CHYA curriculum is, but opting in, Samira was talking about, the Healthy Kids Survey has the core module, and you can opt in to take the extra modules, such as the mental health supports module, behavioral health module.
Thank you.
thanks, Sarah. And thank you for your question, Lisa. Okay, so let's dive into some of the data. And again, so our team analyzed the 2022-2023 school year data from the Healthy Kids Survey statewide, and we wanted to look at the characteristics or the indicators of health and well-being for young people who are experiencing homeless compared to young people who didn't indicate that they were experiencing homelessness. And in terms of gender identity and sexual orientation, we find that statewide, young people who identify as non-binary, transgender, or gender diverse represented a larger percentage of the young people experiencing homelessness as compared to their peers. And similarly, young people who identify as LGBTQ+, 26% reported that they're, 26% are homeless, and only 19% of the 26% of the homeless population identify as LGBTQ+, and only 19% of the non-homeless population. So we're seeing a larger percentage of young people identifying as LGBTQ in the homeless population. Next slide, please. So we also are able to look at the data by race and ethnicity. And I recognize like some of these trends may, you're very familiar with, you're working with young people who are experiencing homelessness, but this hopefully gives you a picture of statewide what we're seeing, and then you can think about how that compares to what you're seeing in your local districts as well. So statewide throughout California, we see a larger percentage of Latino youth represented in the homeless population, and a slightly smaller percentage of youth who identify as Asian or white in the smaller percentage in the homeless population who identify as Asian or white. So the Healthy Kids Survey in the core module has a series of questions that ask about student engagement. And there is this one question, it's self-reported, asking students about their current grades in school. And there's a series of options, and they start with like mostly A's and B's, mostly B's and C's, mostly C's, etc. So we categorized those options into two categories, whether students were getting mostly A's, B's, and some C's, and then the second category being mostly C's or lower. And as we see from this, from these data, within the homeless, the homeless student population, 26% were getting mostly C's or lower based on self-report, in school, compared to 16% of young people who are not experiencing homelessness. So we see some differences in terms of academic performances on the state level within these two populations. As I mentioned before, the Healthy Kids Core module also has a series of indicators related to school safety and connections to schools. So I'm just presenting 2 items on this slide. There's a couple of other items that you can find on the survey as well. But this is very telling and frankly of concern that there's some differences here in terms of connections to school and feeling safe at school. Statewide, young people who are experiencing homelessness, 46% said that they feel safe in their school compared to 54% of their peers. And in terms of feeling close to people at their school, 51% of youth who are experiencing homelessness said that they feel close to people at their school. And this is those that strongly agree with this statement, compared to 61% of young people who are not experiencing homelessness. So we're seeing some real differences within the safety indicators as well. Next slide, please. So Healthy Kids has also questions related to young people's mental health, and the 2 questions, the sad and hopeless question on the left and considered suicide in the middle, those are from the core module. So this is from our larger sample of youth who took the survey statewide, and the indicator on the right in terms of experiencing loneliness, that one comes from a mental health supports module. So I just want to be sure to note that this is from the smaller sample that took the mental health services module, so not likely as representative as the other 2 indicators. But again, we're seeing some differences here in terms of students statewide. 41% of young people experiencing homelessness said that they had felt sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more in the past year, and it affected their ability to do regular activities, compared to 32% of young people who are not experiencing homelessness. And quite alarming here is that there's also this difference in when students are asked whether they have considered suicide in the past year. And we see that 19% of young people experiencing homelessness report that they have considered suicide in the past year, compared to 14% of those who are not experiencing homelessness. And then finally, in terms of the mental health indicators that I wanted to share with you today, we have a question asking, in the past 30 days or past month, how often have you felt lonely? And what we're seeing is the percentage of students who reported either most or all of the time in the past month they felt very lonely. And again, we're seeing this trend where 28% of young people experiencing homelessness said they felt this way, compared to 20% of young people who are not experiencing homelessness.
Samira, we have another question in the Q&A just asking, how does the suicide rate compare to other years, like maybe pre-COVID? Do you guys have that info?
I don't have it at my fingertips. WestEd has it in their dashboards, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I actually think I'm going to share the dashboards from WestEd when I talk about where you can access this data. And I think that the clip that I got from their website is actually the data that you're interested in. Actually, no, sorry, I don't think it shows trends, but there are data from WestEd available on their dashboards, which again, we'll talk about in a few minutes, that you can see the trends over time. And I think we saw, if I'm correct, we saw a slight increase, but it's starting to slowly come down again. But I'll show you exactly where you can find the accurate data.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. I wish I brought that clipping. Okay, so again, these questions are from the mental health supports module, which only a portion of districts opted into, and it's a smaller subsample of students statewide. So asterisk here that it may not be representative of students across the state, but it's a sample of 88,000 students, so a pretty large sample that can give us some good information about where students are in terms of their reports of mental health supports. So we have a question on the mental health supports module. that asks whether they feel, whether students feel they have an adult to talk to at school about their problems. And as we can see, a slightly smaller percentage of youth experiencing homelessness feel that they have an adult to talk to at school about their problems. So 57% compared to 64% of young people who are not experiencing homelessness. So again, these differences are somewhat small, but we want everyone to be at 100%, right? But we also want to make sure that we don't see this disparity between young people who are experiencing homelessness and those who are not. And so while the percentage is 7% difference, numbers wise may not seem huge, but we don't want to see these disparities at all. So it's unfortunate that we're seeing these trends. Thank you. So one more question from our mental health supports module. We ask students if they know where to go for help at school if they're experiencing mental health concerns. And the way that this question is phrased on the survey is, do you know where to go for help at school if you are feeling very sad, stressed, lonely, or depressed? And again, a smaller percentage of youth experiencing homelessness felt that they know where to go for help at school compared to those who are not experiencing homelessness. So again, we want everyone to be at 100%, but we definitely don't want to be seeing these differences. So this is an area that our schools, I know, are working on, and we have a lot of initiatives throughout California that Mata is going to also talk about. We're working to close this gap and hopefully bring everybody up to 100%. But as of the 2022-2023 school year, these are the current trends. I think this is the last data slide that I'll share from the Healthy Kids survey. And one other question that we have on the mental health supports module is asking students whether or not they received help from a counselor or therapist when they needed it in the past year. And there is an option to say, I didn't need this help. So those students are excluded from this chart. When we look at the ones who said that they needed help and then told us whether they received it or whether they didn't, this is, to me, encouraging. We're not seeing a gap between young people experiencing homelessness and those who are not experiencing homelessness in their report of saying they received help from a counselor or therapist when needed. So this is great. We have work to do to get both up to 100%. But it's to me, it gives me hope that they're getting care when they need it, or they're saying they're getting care from a therapist when they need it, similar to their peers. So I think, okay, yeah, that was my last data slide. So this is the slide that I was referring to, the CHICS public dashboards. WestEd has created these wonderful dashboards. They're available to the public, and you can run data, really, I mean, a whole host of indicators. So the core module, they have almost, I think, most of them on there that you can look at data statewide. And you can see, I know the print's really small, but in the top left corner, step 1, select state, county, or district. So you can, from this menu, you could choose your own district, and then you can select the indicator that you're interested in looking at. And for this sample I just clipped, I looked at the suicide indicator. And then in step 4, you can break it down by the demographic of the students that you're interested in looking at. And so I clicked on living situation here, and you can see they provide these charts to you broken down by grade on how students are reporting suicide ideation. And this is the one that I wondered if I had shown the trends. I didn't. I just took the 1 year of data that was available. But as you can see, it's available to the public. Some districts actually also pay a very small fee to have a private dashboard where you can do some additional data mining. And so those may be available to your district as well. But I would reach out. If you are not the person who's in charge of the Healthy Kids administration in your district, I would reach out to the person who is, because they may have access to a private dashboard that you can get some more detailed information. But this is a great resource that WestEd has made available to folks who are interested in looking at the Healthy Kids data. And I just wanted to share one more slide also from the public dashboard. And in this one, I pulled down, this is a trend slide. What you're seeing is I pulled down from the public dashboard, San Diego Unified's data on suicide ideation. And so you can see there's trends. And this is what I was referring to. I think we're starting to see a dip after COVID in some of the in reports of suicide ideation. So this is San Diego Unified's data, but I think we're seeing similar trends statewide. But if you want to access that data yourself, this is exactly where you can go to find it. And like I said, you can do all sorts of different ways to filter out the data and look at the trends that you're interested in on that website.
And I just wanted to add, I put in the chat links to the public dashboard and to West Ed's site where you can download all the Healthy Kids modules, so you can see them at the various school levels as well. And to reiterate that mental health supports module is now part of the behavioral health module. So you would download that module.
Yes, and they're add-on modules. So if your district is doing in the core module, and if you're interested in gathering data, again, on students' mental health status over time, you would just add this on to your Healthy Kids administration, and it'll provide this robust, interesting data for all students. But then you can also break it down if you're interested in looking at young people experiencing homelessness for your district. I would encourage you to add on the module. And they're brief. The module, the mental health supports module is I think we've got it down to about less than 20 questions now. And the behavioral health module has some extra questions, but you can choose which portion you want to administer of the behavioral health module. So you can select out the mental health related questions, I believe. So that's the data from the California Healthy Kids Survey. And I wanted to just spend a few minutes sharing another wonderful data source, I think, from the California Department of Education, which you all may be familiar with, but just in case for those who aren't familiar, CDE has these really, I think, really fun dashboards that you can look at for statewide data, but also similarly, you can look for county level data and your local district level data on this dashboard as well. The website is on the bottom of the slide, but Sarah, I don't know if you can pop it into the chat as well. Thank you so much. But just wanted to share some current data on academic performance that CDE has been collecting for students statewide. And you can take a look at this data and see how it compares for your districts as well. But one of the indicators that CDE is tracking is data on chronic absenteeism. And statewide, we're seeing that among young people who are experiencing homelessness, there's a rate of almost 40% chronically absent. And this is not quite twice, but maybe time and a half or so compared to all students in the state. So a higher rate of chronic absenteeism statewide for young people experiencing homelessness. And I know you all are doing the wonderful work to work with these youth and know all of the barriers that they're facing to coming to school. And so if you need data to help us tell the story of why we need to wrap ourselves around these young people and help them come to school, there's data on these dashboards that you can see. Encouraging is that we're seeing a decline in chronic absenteeism statewide for both populations and from the 2022 to 2023 school year compared to the prior school year. Next slide, please.
Samira, we got a question just asking what we think is behind the decline, the lowering rates.
Can I kick that to you, Susie? Or is that a question statewide? I know I'm like, for the homeless youth, could I kick that to you? I'll say statewide, I think to the declining rates in chronic absenteeism as we're coming out of the pandemic, we saw a lot of students not coming to school in the year following the pandemic, and we're coming further away from that. And students are hopefully coming back into school. But Susie, I don't know, or anyone else?
I mean, I can say my opinion. I don't know if it's if it's much more than that, but I think partly the same as what you're saying, but also the implementation of the housing questionnaire has increased identification and has greatly increased identification in a lot of districts. And I think once we know who the students are, then we can serve them and get them what they need. And so I think the housing questionnaire has also really increased awareness among districts that this is an important population and that there are services available to them. But that's just what I think might be the cause of the lowering rate.
Thanks, Susie.
I think if I could add too, I think there's been more intentionality after post-pandemic, and because we had lost, track of where our students had gone. So there's federal dollars towards initiatives to really identify where our students were. So I think it's the tracking. So I think we're starting to see more of a decline because we're tracking where our students are now. So I think it's kind of a combination of all.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. We've all had a lot of ARP money to help remove barriers for the last couple of years as well.
I just to join the choir here, I was going to say ARP funding. I mean, that's a huge influx of funding across the state, and LEAs, as probably everybody on this webinar knows, have been working so hard to better identify and serve these students, thanks in part to that funding, in large part to that funding.
Thank you all so much. Great question. Thank you. One other indicator that I'll share from the CDE dashboards that you all have access to, again, you can look at this on the local level as well, but they also have suspension rate data on the dashboard. And we see that young people experiencing homelessness, about double suspended at least one day compared to their peers who had 3.5%, 3.5% rate. This increased for young people experiencing homelessness from 21-22 to 22-23 by 1%, but it also increased slightly for students statewide. So not a huge difference in those increases. And then the last data point that I wanted to share that you would be able to access from the CDE dashboards as well is data on graduation rates. And we are seeing that 74% of young people experiencing homelessness graduated in the 22-23 school year, compared to 86% of their peers. And again, the many barriers that contribute to this discrepancy, as I know what you all have been working towards decreasing, but we're seeing a little bit of a lower graduation rate for homeless students statewide compared to their peers. That's it for data. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share data. Welcome any other questions before we turn it to Mara to share some phenomenal resources of how we can wrap ourselves around these young people and give them some of the supports that they need. Mara, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Samira and Sarah. Appreciate you always. And we've been working together for so many years. So I think that we continue to build services and identify resources because of the data. So we are, tag teaming this all along. So thank you so much. I am very happy to be here and share with you some resources that are available to you statewide. And I want to say that all of these resources are you think about this, I'm going to go with no cost. So let's get started. So if we can move on. The first one I'm going to share with you comes from our partners from Wellness Together. And this is a resource that it's called the Wellness Education Lab. It is practical and empowering mental health training. And this really came from discussions, how can we start to really empower our students and our families on just some mental health awareness. And so this has been a long time coming. Wellness Together partnered with the California Department of Education to start to build these out. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Susie. Thank you. So it's a webinar platform, and students, parents, and guardians and educators can tap into these modules. They were created by leading mental health experts, and really for all levels, they provide practical skills to manage stress and support others. And everything that is provided on these modules are evidence-based. The modules will last approximately 45 to 60 minutes. And the beauty of this is that they are self-paced. So you can log on to them, log off, pick it up wherever you land. So we have some schools that are having their students do it while in class. They can do it for extra credit. And then again, parents can do it as well, and so can staff. So as you see there, it is online accessible on desktop or mobile devices. You can take it at their pace. It's for students 13 and above. So just wanted to note that. And it is in line with legislation code SB 224. So the California Mental and Emotional Health Standards. So all you have to do is, they provide you, if we could go to the next slide, Susie. Thank you. So there's just more detail on that. Oh, and let me mention, you are going to get copies of all this, and we've made links for everything we're talking about. You will have direct links to all this. So just wanted to note that. So this just gives you more information. You can take the slide deck and share it with others within your districts. So we wanted you to just be able to plug and play. So you don't have to recreate any of this. So this is what highlights, parents will be able to access the trainings. You can go to the website and everybody will have to create their own login, but thereafter it's theirs for the duration. This was already funded with state dollars, and so it is going to remain on the Wellness Together platform. So it'll be available for years to come. So next slide, please, Susie.
Laura, we have a quick
yeah.
question.
Please.
For you or Samira, I think you may know the answer to this, but the question is, are there any surveys that are collecting data on school staff well-being?
Are there in? Yes, there are. So there are components. Samira, do you want to share, please?
Sure. Yeah. The Healthy Kids survey that WestEd does is part of a suite of surveys called Cal Schools. And Cal Schools has a school staff survey as part of it, as well as a parent survey. But the school staff survey has questions around perceived climate, staff's perceptions of the climate of their school. And they also have questions related to supports that they may receive. I don't, the core staff module doesn't have necessarily staff well-being, but we have a companion module that we've created that's called the Student Wellness module that has some questions related to support from school, but there aren't direct questions necessarily about like mental health of staff on those surveys, but there are domains that are related to what would impact staff well-being on the school staff version of Cal Schools. And you can navigate to that that link that Sarah put in, the Cal Schools administration downloads. You can navigate on that page. You'll see a series of surveys that are dedicated to serving school staff.
Thanks, Samira. There's also a question, Mara, can parents and or students directly access or is a school referral required?
Not at all. Anybody can access well. It does not have to go through the schools.
So even school staff?
That's correct. Even school staff does not require schools to go through the school. Anybody can access it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I did want to mention, if we could go back one slide, Susie, please. I wanted to mention that the character that you see there, the name is Xenon, and what students will learn, there's it's a 6-step formula that they will learn throughout called Oliver. And the beauty about Oliver, and what I really love about this, I've gone through the training, is Oliver stands for observe, listen, inquire, validate, encourage, and refer. And so it's presented to students in a way, if you see a friend struggling, these are the steps you can take to work with your friend or peer, but it really teaches them how to do the same, like observe your own, what's going on in your body, listen to yourself, listen to your thoughts, and inquire, why am I feeling those things? And so they did a really good job. It's age appropriate, and as they learn the lessons, like they have lessons on just mental health foundations. What is mental health? What is, within the range of, we all feel emotions, and these are things that, depending on what's going on in our life, these are things within the range of that's reasonable. This is when we might worry. But they also talk about, they have a module on anxiety. And they go through kind of the history of anxiety. Like we used to run from tigers and feeling anxious about that, and how we will heighten our responses. And so they did a really good job at that. And all along, and for parents, it's different and it looks different. And of course, for staff, it's different. But what I really appreciated is how thoughtful they were about really making sure that the messages are age appropriate and that they're in such a way that it makes it engaging. So I didn't want you to go today without knowing Xenon. So I think that's an important key. So anyways, if we can keep going, Susie. So you would you just get started. You just have to go to that. You can scan right now. If you scan this with your phones, it will take you directly to the link, and you can go to the QR or go to wellnessedlab.org, and you just have every step here. So that's step one. Next slide, you would then create an account by creating a username and password or sign in with Google. And then next slide, please, browse the available training. So that just gives you the different lists of trainings that are available. And there's a quick start guide. So again, we give you these slides so that you can share them with your either districts or school sites. And that's just as easy as it is. So for more information, more details, you can go to the wellnessedlab.org. So that is the first resource we wanted to share with you. Here is another resource that if you do not know about it, this is something that is being funded by the state of California. It is called Bright Life Kids. And this is a CalHope program by Bright Line, which is the company. And they are providing free behavioral health coaching to all California kids ages 0 to 12. This is at no cost to parents. And you do not need to have insurance. You also do not need any referrals. It does not need to go through the schools. This is being advertised everywhere. So parents can receive private one-to-one coaching via video and secure chat. They have on-demand digital resources. There's also care guides available, and then referrals to local providers for families. They have diverse bilingual coaches. Up to 17 different languages are provided for families. So that's Bright Life Kids. The next slide, Susie, just kind of gives more detail, everything that is available for families. So again, does not have to go through the school, but available to any family in the state of California. The only thing they need to provide is their zip code. So they will provide, what are developmental milestones, social emotional well-being, emotional regulation, tools and tips on how to help parents through that. For ones with little ones, just issues on how to resolve bedtime issues, sleep issues. And then, as they grow older, anything that they might be dealing with, sadness, worry, interactions with other children, and then how to manage those big emotions and so much more. So please use this resource, share it with your families. Again, this is part of the huge initiative that the governor put forward, the $4 billion towards children and families. So Bright Life Kids, this is just a sample. They can use it on their phones. They can also use it on computers, any way that they can access it. So there's the digital tools, the behavioral health coaching, and then care coordination, referrals to local mental or behavioral partners. Are we good, Susie? Okay. All right. And then Soluna. I know Soluna is for older children. It's also part of CYBHI, which is a CalHope program by Kooth. That is the company. And it's an all-in-one mental health app for youth and young adults. So this goes from 13 to 25 years old. And the intention is to empower users with the tools they need to navigate just life in general. It is really for prevention and early intervention. It very much follows the Bright Life model, but for older children and up to 25, like I said. You can also access one-to-one coaching. They have the interactive tools and resources. There's a community forum. And again, they also accommodate up to 17 languages. So that they're able to meet the needs of our diverse population here in California. So as you see there, they have a lot of resources like the Calm app does. So self-guided resources, there's community support, and then the behavioral health coaching, which they can schedule appointments and they will have a person there with them. So any questions there? Okay, you can scan right now any one of those 2 QR codes. For more information, please contact those the 2 links there, and you can ask for any additional resources. They will even come out. You can have representatives from Bright Life Kids or Soluna come out to any community forum you're having. They will even come to school sites. They have staff up and down the state. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to them. They will gladly do that.
And Mara, there's a question, are they both free?
They are both free.
And then is there flyers available for both of those? You will have the links and the link to the websites that you see on the slide when the slides get sent out to you, but I don't know if we have flyers.
They will send you flyers. They will send you
Okay.
printed flyers.
The next question is it free if the site is referring parents to other service providers?
No, so that's another level. If they need additional resources, it's just depending on what kind of referral, right? But they will help facilitate depending on insurance. They will walk the parents through that. So the referral service, all of that is free. Whatever happens thereafter, that really depending on what service that they get.
Okay, one more. Are appointments readily available? Like if you want to do the coaching, I'm assuming.
Yes, in fact, from my understanding, you can see the calendar of the coaches and you make the appointment based on your availability
Awesome.
and the availability of course, of the coach. But yes, I understand that they are readily available.
Awesome. Thanks. That's all the questions right now.
Okay. And no, they're not in person. They're virtual at this time. I saw that one pop up, Susie. All right. So I did not tell the truth. Calming corners, there is a cost. Sorry, but I wanted to share this as a best practice because it is something that we've been experiencing. It is lower cost, I will say this, but calming corners are something that have been helping many students across the state. It's become a best practice. It is just a place where we can have students take time to just, self-regulate, to find that space that they need to just compose or get away from things, overstimulation, whatever they need. So we are sharing this as a best practice with you. Schools are, busy places, and sometimes we just need that time to be able to find a space, right, where we can self-regulate, where we can talk to somebody, where we can just step away. And we're sharing this with you because there's been such great asks about this, and there's been just such great results. So this is the handout that just kind of talks about it. But in the next slide, we are also sharing with you some of the research around this so that you can share with leadership or anybody that would help fund these. Practical considerations, how do they align with other initiatives? In some counties, county behavioral health departments are helping fund these. So want you to think about that, as far as looking for dollars in this, and we have a link to that document, but if we can go to the next slide, this is the price list for everything, like kind of the most basic items that you would have in a calming corner. And, the things that we're hearing is that, for students, many of our students who've experienced trauma, like even a fire drill, being able to have that calming corner thereafter has been really helpful. The weighted dogs or other animals have been really helpful for students who experience something. They just need a place to be able to go collect themselves. We have students who experience a lot of anxiety, and being able to check in there has been really helpful. So we wanted to share this with you as a best practice. For more ideas, Susie can definitely share my email, and we will give you ideas as to how to fund it, because we've been successful in being able to fund them. So reach out and I will share you some great ideas as to who has some dollars available. Okay. So
I'm just going to add really quick, Mara, for the group, especially since staff well-being was brought up, that Mara has a calming corner in an area right outside her office at the County Office of Ed where there are not students, but the Calming Corner is well used
Yes.
by
You're
adults.
right.
So it's good practice for students and for adults to have one.
Yes, we have a huge coloring page and we have a puzzle. So it's the community puzzle. So we have staff from different departments come in and just take their break and come do our work on our puzzle in color. So we have a lava lamp and head noise canceling headphones as well, just like a lot of the stuff that you see here on the screen. So you're right, Susie. Did I see questions there?
Yeah. So there's the first one is, do you have ideas for virtual schools?
Oh,
I don't know.
we have a virtual wellness center that
Mhm.
we're going to share with you. And so that's one idea we have for it. So building a virtual wellness center. So we will get to that a little bit later. That's
And
one
then
idea.
for Bright Life Kids and Saluna, are these two organizations providing coaching or counseling in the therapeutic realm?
So it's more like life skills coaching for the
Okay.
parents. So Bright Life is with the parents, and sometimes they can bring in the child with them, but it's more like life skills coaching, not necessarily therapy. And for same for Saluna. Same for Saluna. And honestly, it depends on each and every case. So if they need more intensive, that's where they would make referrals out.
Cool. And then lastly, is there technical support to help LEAs or districts? I'm thinking in like implementing some of these things.
Tell me more, Susie, because I'm not.
So it just reads, does technical support exist to support LEAs and or districts?
So I will tell you that I would start with your county office of ed. Many of us, the county offices of ed, we meet. There's a collaborative, it's the Mental Health and Wellness Collaborative, where COEs come together and discuss these resources and how to support LEAs. So I would find who your COE representative is responsible for mental health supports or SEL supports and start there. If you have specific questions, if we could put my email in the chat, Susie, I will
Yeah.
happily identify the right person for you.
Awesome. I will do that. And then lastly, there's a question about funding to pay a staff to supervise the Calming Corner.
So in there's a couple of initiatives out there, like SB HIP is one of them. That's an initiative that was statewide. There's a large funding source that all counties are getting, but that's more. I'm sure you've heard of the fee service that is coming out. As far as schools will be able to build for mental health services, that would be a way to create additional funds in your LEAs that could use some of those dollars to do exactly that, to stipend somebody to oversee the calming corners. Some of the calming corners have been placed near school counselors' offices. So they're right there, like in a common area where it doesn't require a staff member. However, there are some staff members where there's some LEAs that have created a room where they have, a person dedicated to it. So I would look into that. I would look into, as we start to build up the fee schedule and schools are able to bill for services with those dollars, that is a possibility to be able to fund things like that. A person who can supervise or either build up calming corners or calming rooms, that could be a really good use of these funds.
Thanks, Mara. And then there's no more questions, but I just want to share really quickly. I shared a suggestion from a participant into the chat that was typed into the Q&A. So if folks want to take a look at that, and also Deb from UC Berkeley shared just a fun fact about Healthy Kids Survey being adapted in Japan going forward. So if you guys want to look at those, it's in the chat. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Mara.
Yeah, of course. All right. So if we can get to that next slide. All right, I wanted to share with you here. I know Samira and Sarah were also part of this. There's a family guide to supporting young people's mental health and well-being. It's a long title, information, tips, and resources. And this was put together at the California Department of Education and Project CalWell, which Samira talked about earlier. So if we can go to the next slide. This is the guide. So when you get these slides, you can download the guide. So they have, key topics include, conversation starters to help open up lines of communication, both with children and teens. They also provide tips for ways to connect wellness routines with families, also addressing the myth around mental health, all the stigma kind of myths that we have, how to recognize if your child might be being bullied or bullying others, and then things around media literacy and boundaries around technology, how to best partner with schools if there's an issue, how we can approach schools as parents. So it has a lot on there. I don't remember how many pages it is, Sarah, if you know, but I know it is a huge document.
I want to say around 50. It's long.
Yeah. Oh God, I thought it was longer than that, but okay. So 50 pages, but it's a great resource. It can be downloaded for parents, or, they can have a digital copy, however, but just wanted to share that with you as another free resource that is available. So you have that. Okay. So now we've come to, wanted to share this. It is a policy to practice suicide intervention toolkit. And just a little bit about that. As Samira shared with you, when we look at the numbers, so for our students experiencing homelessness, 41% versus 32% of their peers not experiencing homelessness, I think were the numbers that you shared, Samira. That's really concerning. And those that considered suicide, 19% of students experiencing homelessness versus 14% not experiencing homelessness. And those feeling lonely, 28% experiencing homelessness versus 20% of the peers not experiencing homelessness. All these things are extremely concerning to us. And then, another number that really stood out was students experiencing homelessness reported feeling less safe and less connected to people at school. And then finally, the absenteeism rate. 2 weeks ago, I went to the American Suicidology Conference, and newly identified risk factors include school absenteeism. In fact, it's associated with a 20% increase in suicide ideation. So altogether, we have to be looking out for suicide prevention, intervention. And so wanted to share this toolkit with you. It is a digital toolkit, and it covers everything around, it's a comprehensive suicide intervention toolkit. So in it, you have suicide risk screening is linked into it, the screening tool, as well as the link to training to the tool, which is approximately 30 minutes long. It is I said it's an evidence-based tool. Sorry, it's a Columbia. It's an evidence-based tool. In that tool, there's also a protocol flowchart that matches the same categories as the risk tool. You can take these flowcharts and adapt them to your LEA. You can put your logos, your name, whatever you want. There's an action plan that then matches the flowchart. We've included safety wellness tools, re-entry plans, and then information and resources. So we've been working on this for years now. We have shared it with LEAs across the state. It is considered a best practice, not just in our state, it's being shared with other states now. So if we could go to the next slide. I want to be really clear about when I say in the toolkit, you will see the suicide risk screening tool, the difference between a screening tool versus an assessment. So, and we say this over and over because when we talk about screening, suicide risk screening, many, as we started to do our research, what we find is many of our districts were using assessment and screenings interchangeably. And so there was this perception that, oh, only our school psychologists can do the screenings. Well, because they were doing assessments. This screening is 6 questions. And so it does not require that a school psychologist do it, only because of the training and how it was originally designed. So the screening is a standardized instrument used to identify students who may be at risk for suicide, and it can be administered by any school staff member. So in our county, we have school counselors, we have school psychologists, of course, but we have administrators, teachers, and support staff who are trained in it. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And Susie, if you go to the next slide, this is the tool. And if we have a little bit of time, Susie, if you can actually, I don't know if this is going to throw us off though. If you were to open up, is it going to throw us off? You don't.
Open the link.
Yeah, like if you could.
Let me
But
see.
if it's going to throw you off, I don't want to, I didn't mean to throw us for a loop, but.
Let's see. Hang on one second. And totally, whoops, let me move that out of the way. I'm going to do a new share.
So I'd totally be thrown for a loop and say, no can do. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. So this is the tool. You can, if you want to scroll, perfect. It is a total of 13 pages. So one of the things we found is that most tools were the SAMHSA guides, like I think close to 200 pages. And when you're in the middle of working with a student, you don't have 200, you don't have time for 200 pages. So we were like, what are the most critical pieces? And so this is what we have built. So you can keep scrolling. This is, if you could stop there, there's the link to the brochure of the tool. There is the online training for the tool. And there is an image of the tool, but you have the links to the actual screening tool. So those are the questions. For those that want to go beyond and actually follow the assessment that matches the screening tool, you have the link there. These are the flow charts. They're Word documents that you can open up and use yourself. Like I said, put your logos in. They follow the same categories of that screening tool. You can scroll up, Susie. Thank you. And then there's an action plan. Everything has been looked at by suicide prevention and intervention experts. The Columbia University, who designed the screening tool, has also reviewed this and thought it was an excellent tool and said, please share it with whoever take it and use it. So there's the action plan tool. And then there's parent resources. You can print these out, share it with the parents. There's in English and Spanish, just acknowledging what's happened, and then resources for parents. And then student safety plans, 2 versions, just depending on what you would like to use. And then we have, we can keep going. The reentry plan. This has been used beyond students with suicidal ideation. It's been used for students who haven't been in school for a while. It's been used for students who have been ill, not necessarily just for suicide ideation, but for other issues. So take a look at that tool. This is a treat with care memo. This came from maybe giving a heads up to teachers. You don't have to give any detail. It's just, hey, something went on with Susie, and Susie might need a little extra attention today. So it's a treat with care memo for Susie, and then just some trauma-informed
Susie always
tip sheets. Right? Don't we all? Some trauma-informed tip sheets that can be shared with staff. And these are self-care plans for students that you can have them fill out. What do you need for your mind, body, and soul? and walk them through it. And then we've also included this tool that they can fill out digitally, or you can print out for them. Who's your web of support? What are those people, relatives in the community at school that can really be a support to you? And then there's the student information and resources, and we're going to get to that because we have slides on that, and you can keep going. And then I think the last is to the Virtual Wellness Center. Okay, so just wanted to show that. Thank you so much, Susie, for opening that. I really appreciate it. So you will have access to that as well. And this last year received the Golden Bell Award. So I guess we did a good job. So there you go. You will have that. Really important. And if you have any questions about any of those steps, please email me. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. So some of the feedback we've received from the field, it's just a valuable resource. It's really gotten, people even within the same district. So again, what we have found, when we started working with districts locally, we had from one school to another school using separate tools. We had some schools using assessments, others using screening tools. When we asked, where did you get those tools? Or, oh, I brought it from my credential program 10 years ago when I was in school. And so, it's really helping get entire LEAs on the same page about the tools that they're using. And if children transfer, then, we're using the same language. So it's been a great game changer. Oh, next slide,
Mara,
Susie.
I
Yeah.
have a question that reads, how is the assessment performed? How does a staff member approach a student to conduct an assessment? And do you need parent approval to do the assessment?
So we start with the screener, right? The assessment's a whole other level, and then you determine how you still need to follow whatever your board policies are. So you would identify who the best person is to do the assessment. So that's not everybody does an assessment. Usually it's somebody with the mental health background doing the assessment. So this is really focused on the screening part of it. So you would go into, that would be a conversation at your district level.
I think a good part of that is in terms of the screening, is there any
Correct.
parental permission required?
No.
Okay.
No parental permission required for the screening.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm sorry, and if we could go to the next slide. So just wanted to share the feedback that we've been getting. And like I said, this has gone beyond San Diego County. It's been used across LEAs across the state. And so, and really it's made people more comfortable in being able to, if we can do the screening, a few questions, and then move from there. And then if there is a concern, then you have all the support documents and procedures to follow thereafter. So it's really helped us be able to work with our students and really get into the early intervention of it. So so wanted to share that. So a couple of so you saw this in the guide, but wanted to share this with you. We create a teen guide to mental health and wellness. We update it every year. This is done in partnership with youth. So it's all youth informed. They will identify some of the resources, but the design, everything is done by youth. So less words, show us videos. So if you're telling us, certain things, we want videos to things, give us apps, because that's what we want. So this was born out of when students were at home during the pandemic. And what we found is that schools do what schools normally do. Let's create a great, big, long resource for parents. And well, the parents were struggling and students were watching their parents struggle, and they didn't necessarily want to add to that. And they're like, my parents are freaking out. What happens when the parents aren't well? And they were really identifying resources for each other. And so that's really where this was born. It's like, how do we take care of ourselves when the parent, when our adults aren't necessarily okay, right? And so this is where this came out of. And so students had asked, can we keep doing this? And so we have done it every year since. So this is a guide to that, the teen guide. So we wanted to share that with you. And again, we update it every year. And then from that, students through a project at school said, well, why don't we create a pocket guide? So that way I don't have, the team guide has been blown up into posters in schools and they post that. But so teens created this pocket guide, schools printed out, and they're like little credit cards. And so they have these things available to them. And the QR code opens up to more resources. So we wanted to share that with you as well, if you want to print those out for students. And then finally, there's also the Young Person's Guide to Wellness. And a lot of these resources are for parents to do with their students, with their younger children. And then finally, for the virtual school, we created a virtual wellness center, and you can see the QR code. I think if you click one more time, Susie, there'll be a title thing. It's a virtual wellness center. And this is somewhere where there are calming apps, there's coloring and creativity, you can print out, there's games and puzzles. I personally love the virtual tours and webcam. There's an app there that's Windows of the World, and you can click on there and people will just put their cameras outside of their windows anywhere in the world, and you can hear traffic, or you can see birds, or you can be in London, or you can be in Paris, or you can be in Brazil. And I love I can be anywhere in the world right now. And so it's really fun. It's called Windows of the World. Also sounds and music. And so we have 3 categories. There's for children, teens, and adults. And so we have this on our website. We share it with our staff here. And then we have different LEAs just have a link directly to their websites, to their web pages. So this is something that can be created instead of those calming physical spaces, maybe a virtual wellness center. So please feel free to take links to it, copy whatever you'd like. And this, here at San Diego County, we don't think county lines or zip codes. For us, anything that we have, we happily share with everybody else. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you. And you can scan there and just check it out. All right. And then finally, wanted to share this with you. If you haven't heard about this before, this is available free to everybody in the state. It's Safe Spaces Trauma-Informed Training. So we can go to the next slide, and we're just going to talk about this. It is a trauma-informed free training, again, for everybody. So let's play the video, Susie.
Adverse childhood experiences, called ACEs, are stressful or traumatic experiences that occur in childhood, like violence, abuse, and growing up in a family with substance use or mental health problems. When a caring adult or supportive environment doesn't soften those adverse experiences, or when they are ongoing or overwhelming, they can lead to a prolonged activation of our stress response, called toxic stress. Think of toxic stress like this. Our bodies were designed to escape predators quickly. Imagine you're walking through the woods and you see a bear. Your brain signals your body to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart begins to pound and your body prepares you to either fight or run from the bear. And that's useful if you're in the forest and there's a bear. The problem is when children face threats to their physical and emotional safety, and this system is activated over and over and over again. What was meant to protect you begins to do the opposite and becomes damaging to your health, creating long-lasting wear on your body and brain. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of ACEs and toxic stress because their brains and bodies are still developing. The toxic stress from ACEs and other adversities such as poverty, racism, discrimination, and natural disasters can disrupt the normal functioning of vital bodily systems. Simply put, toxic stress can result in long-term mental and physical health conditions. Not only that, but the effects of ACEs can be passed from parent to child for generations through the biological changes and behaviors associated with ACEs and toxic stress. A person with 4 or more ACEs is twice as likely to suffer from heart disease, cancer, and stroke, 4 times as likely to develop depression, and 12 times as likely to attempt suicide. The good news is that safe, stable relationships and environments and other interventions such as physical and mental health support can reduce the risk of ACEs leading to toxic stress and stress-related health conditions. To learn more, visit www.osg.ca.gov.
Thank you, Susie. So again, these slides that I'm providing you here are available to you, and they're for you to help promote this free training for all staff, child care providers, anybody working with youth. So the definition of stress, what it does. Next slide, the impact to children in school. So all those things that many of us know. And then the next slide, Susie, this provides where the funding came from for this free training that we'll be talking about, which is called Safe Spaces. It is the next slide. It launched in July of 2023. And we can go to the next slide, Susie. I think it lasts 2 minutes. Do you want to show this video? Because the rest is just about the actual training. Okay.
Stress and trauma have a profound effect on young people's health, development, and ability to learn. That's why it's so important to create an environment for our children and youth to thrive. The educational and early care workforce play a vital role in creating these safe and nurturing spaces. Introducing Safe Spaces, a free online training from the California Surgeon General that provides education and early care personnel the tools they need to recognize and respond to stress and trauma in children and youth.
What the science clearly shows is that the antidote to toxic stress is safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments. And what that means is that everyone who interacts with young children has a really important opportunity to be that source of buffering.
Being trauma-informed means being aware that ACEs and toxic stress are common and that they can impact our mental and physical health, our behavior, and our overall well-being. The Safe Spaces curriculum provides that understanding, that awareness, but also concrete tools and strategies that we can use to help kids, families, and ourselves to address ACEs, toxic stress, and those everyday stressors that we all face.
Access Safe Spaces online. Choose your training module, each focused on a different age group, and gain the foundations of a trauma-informed practice within 2 hours.
When it comes to supporting kids experiencing ACEs and toxic stress, it just takes one caring adult to be the difference for that child.
So whether that person is the custodian, a paraprofessional, a bus driver, a teacher, an administrator, a counselor, we can each play a valuable role in supporting the students that we serve.
We have the opportunity to reimagine mental health and emotional well-being for all children and youth. Take the training at www.osg.ca.gov/safe spaces, because everyone needs a safe space.
All right, so that's pretty much everything I was going to say in the next few slides. This is the entire slide deck. It is made available to you so that we can help spread the word. It is self-paced, like it was said there. Sorry. Okay. And so online, 3 different age groups, like it says, next slide, Susie. And so please help spread the word. If you have not taken it, they're really well done. We are constantly being asked about trauma-informed training. So this one, free is what we like. And it is on the website. You can access it there. So with that, I think you could just keep going through the slides, Susie. That's perfect. It talks about, the kind of curriculum. You can go scan it. And then on that last page, that'll just walk them through. There is the coordinator for the training that you can reach out to for more information. But it's pretty self-explanatory with these slides. All you have to go is log on and check it out. And I know sometimes we want to test it before we start spreading it, so feel free to do that first. But it is really good. And with that, I just want to say thank you for your time and attention. Most importantly, thank you for what you do every day. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I know how hard Susie works, and I know, Susie, what is the saying? Heart work is hard work.
Our
So-
hard work is hard work.
I got it right. So thank you so much for what you do, and honored to be here with you today. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. If you have any questions, email me. I will happily answer those and help figure things out with you.
Thank you both, Mara and Samira. I don't see any more questions, just a lot of gratitude for the information today. So,
And Sarah,
appreciate you
I see
guys.
Sarah.
And Sarah, yes. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your time. It's an honor to be here and to be here with you all. Thank you.
We ended at 10:30, right? So it did okay, right?